It's not even starting yet. There it goes. Oh, it says I'm live. But Stacy, you're still not here.
I'm not there. I still have cogs.
You still have cogs. Hi, everybody. We are having some technical difficulties. I can't believe this. Well, I guess I can, I guess. If you are joining in, if you can see us, please go ahead and say hello. My name is Candace with Pet Boss Nation. We're just having a hard time with, there are some people joining in. So we're just trying to get Stacy connected. I'm not really sure why she's not popping up. So welcome, welcome. In the meantime, this is what it's like to be live on the internet. So as you're joining us, please let me know. Bob's here. Hello, Bob. Let us know where you're from. Oh, thanks, Karen. Thank you for the congrats. Last night I was at the Women in the Pet Industry Conference, and I won. I was one of the winners of the Women of the Pet Industry Woman of the Year in the Entrepreneur category. So I guess I could show my little trophy while we tried to figure this out. But let's see. Yeah, here's the trophy. Yay! It was a lot of fun. All right, so everyone just keep saying hello. We're trying to get Stacy on, and in the meantime, Stacy, are you still on the phone?
I am.
You are. Were you able to log back in?
Let me try again. I'm still seeing.
Did you make your camera live?
Back to the test again.
Okay, you don't want to go through the test. Yeah, don't go through the test link.
Okay.
You want to go through.
No, it's not on the test link. The camera should. Well, I'm not even there.
You're coming. It's coming. It's happening. Okay, we gotta get your camera on though. I just see a picture of you. Yeah, there we go. See, we were able to make it work. Okay, now we gotta turn your mic on and then we can hang up.
Okay.
There you go.
Are we good?
Yay. Okay. Goodbye.
Yay.
Woohoo! We are in. We are in.
Finally.
Okay. Finally. Well, I love it. You know, we've got a fellow curly-haired entrepreneur too.
Yes.
All right. Well, I see the chats coming through, so I think now we can officially get started. We've got 12 looks like 12 people in the room with us, and I just want to say welcome to everybody. This is a really cool new series that I'm doing with Pets Plus Magazine, where we go beyond the pages of the print publication. And if you're in this webinar, I'm sure you already are a fan of the printed magazine. This is the latest one that just came out. And both actually Stacy and I are contributors and writers for this magazine. And I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to be doing these every few weeks. And Stacy is our guest tonight. Stacy Busch-Heisserer is the owner of a couple businesses. She's the owner of Busch Pet Products, which is a retail store specializing in all natural products. She also has a doggy daycare called Deer Creek Doggy Day Camp. And she definitely keeps herself busy because you and I didn't talk about it before, but you also are getting your nutrition certificate. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been working on a pet nutrition certification through the Academy of Natural Health Sciences in New Jersey. Wow. I don't know how official it is, but it's a legit program. I just finished dog and I'm working on cat. So.
Wow. I mean, you are doing a lot. You have your store, you have your daycare, you're writing for the magazine, you are doing webinars like this with me, and you have a child.
Yes,
lots and lots of pets.
7.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, why don't we, what we're going to do here is that Stacy has so many successes in her life, and she has been working with pets from the very beginning, and she's going to tell you a lot about that too. But how these webinars work is that as you are watching, if you have any question, you can type it into the chat room, and you're welcome to chat with each other, but type it in the chat room, and Christina is my customer care assistant, and she's going to pull any questions aside that we'll dig in deeper with Stacy towards the end. Okay. All right. So Stacy, why don't you tell us all about those early years?
Well, I was a dog show rat. I grew up with two parents who showed dogs full time. Well, I take that back. My dad did have a real job that he would have to come to home to every Sunday night, but we were on the road almost every weekend of every month of every year from the time I was small enough to travel with them. I said we started out in a van and we moved to a motorhome, and then we moved to a bigger motorhome, and then I turned 16 and I was sick of being with my parents. But they were beagle breeders and my parents were professional handlers. And I ended up showing a Harrier and an American Foxhound. If anybody knows what the Harrier is, it's an even more rare breed than the Foxhound. I did win a group. At least one hound group out there. I beat my dad too, so I was feeling like a big deal. Yeah, he beat me for best in show though. But I got to travel. I got to meet a lot of cool people. I know every breed of dog except for all these new ones that the AKC is bringing in. It was a wonderful experience for a kid. So it never really left, even when I tried to get away from it.
Right. Yeah. So was that like was your family really competitive and strict about it, or did you have fun?
It was just part of life. I mean, I don't necessarily say strict because, it was just the three of us. It was me and my mom and dad. I'm an only child for probably obvious reasons now, but it was just a way of life. I can remember several times when we would get into town just in time for me to have to go to school. But they were always pretty easygoing about taking me out of school too. So we got to go to New York. We got to go to Madison Square Garden and do Westminster. We got to go to Colorado. We did Chicago one year in January, which was a huge mistake. But we had a lot of fun doing it. Hey, there we are.
I'm back. Hey. Hi. So hopefully, I don't know what just happened. Like, it's almost like I don't know. Very strange. So hopefully you guys can all hear us. If you can, please type it. There we go. They lost us. They'll probably get us back in just a second. But so you taught swimming lessons, but you opened your first pet business when you were, how old? You were 38.
Yeah.
I guess when you said you opened your first store. So why did you take so much time away, or what was it about? What was it that got you to want to open your first online retail store in 2008?
My parents never pushed me to be a dog. I don't know that they necessarily wanted me to stay in the pet industry. That's not a bad thing. Don't look at that as a bad thing. They just felt like there was more out there for me. And I didn't push. I didn't think about becoming a handler. I just kind of drifted out of it. I hung out with my friends, and I went to college, and I just got jobs. And I taught swimming lessons. I loved doing lessons. But that was not a job that a person with a college degree could do, is be a lifeguard and hang out at the pool all the time. And I did teach school for a few years. I taught CPR and first aid. I loved that. But I kind of drifted back into the pet world when I thought, it's time for me to take over the boarding kennel that my parents own. But they weren't ready to give it up. So pet sitting seemed like a natural progression. And then all of a sudden, I realized how many people were buying things for their pets. And all of a sudden, it was rhinestone collars and clothing and beautiful leashes. And it was a lot of boutique items, but there was a lot out there.
There was, but that was, because I started my boutique in Chicago in 2006, and that was pre-recession. And so it was, people were spending all kinds of money on the little dog clothes and all that Tiffany Ritchie were really famous for having their little dogs everywhere. And I think that's when it became common for people to start traveling with little dogs. And but you started in 2008, and that's when I felt in my business the start of the recession. So were there any challenges when you first started, or was it really kind of all rainbows?
Believe it or not, it was kind of all rainbows, and I didn't really think much of the recession. I like I said, I started out online. I had a good base. I actually advertised my business at a local home and garden show. I set up a booth upstairs and said, I'm going to start selling pet supplies, and here's my website. And people would say stuff like, well, do you have a store? And I'm like, well, I'm opening one soon. And they were all excited because Cape didn't have anything like that. We had a pet store for years, a family-owned pet store that did fish and supplies. They didn't do live animals beyond the fish, but and they retired. So we only had Petco and of course Walmart. Yeah. So I think the town was ready to see something new. I wasn't into nutrition yet. Again, it was going to be cute little charms for collars and cute little message shirts. And then it wasn't until I worked for a lady here in town that made her own pet food that it kind of turned into a nutrition thing for me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So tell us about what drew you to her.
My first focus was that she was made in Missouri, and I was kind of all keen on trying to keep American made. And then when you start to think about Missouri made, and that's kind of a niche market, but it was also kind of a hook. And I had seen an article in the paper on her. She was Miss Autumn Sparkery. She's actually still in business. She doesn't live in Missouri anymore, but she introduced me to the world of pet food. She made it in her home. She made dog treats in her home. She taught me about licensing. She taught me about merchandising, manufacturing, which I never want to get into, but that's its own realm. But basically I wanted to sell her food on my website, and she wanted somebody to be a sales rep. So we had a nice even trade. I started traveling to St. Louis and meeting other shop owners. And that's where I really started to get the bug for having a retail store.
That's one of the things I love, merchandising and displays. And when you start to go into other people's businesses, you're like, this would be fun. I could do this. And so, and then, you realize that once you're in it, you realize how much work it really is. And I'm sure we've got lots of retailers watching now. If you can relate to the retail, the struggles of retail, please give me a hell yeah in the comments there. But so you learned about dog food nutrition. You then basically went out there and hit the pavement and were doing some direct sales and getting clients. And then you decided to open up your first store. Tell us all about that. I mean, a lot of us have maybe gone through it. A lot of us have gone through it, but some people might also be in those same shoes where you were in, where they were in the pet industry but didn't have that brick and mortar. So tell us about that experience.
Well, I was already online, and like I said, I was selling things that I could afford to ship. When I started getting into the dog food, it was mainly because really these two shops in St. Louis, my friends, wonderful friends now, kept saying, you've got to open a store in Cape Girardeau. If you don't, somebody else is going to. Somebody else is going to take this, and they're going to be successful, and you're going to miss the boat. And they introduced me to some brands of food that they thought would work in what I consider to be more of a rural market, which is where we are. And I learned about them, and I got contacts from them. And next thing you know, luckily I know a lot of people in town because I grew up here, and a lot of those folks have stayed around. And I was contacting a guy I went to high school with whose mom owned a strip mall. And next thing you know, I had a 1-year lease for a 750 square foot space to start a little store. And the nice part about it was actually next door to another strip mall that had a natural health food store for people that had been around for years and still is in the same spot. So it seemed like a good first place to start.
Yeah. Did you partner with them very much?
I didn't. She did carry a little bit of pet food, but we talked and I didn't carry the same. She was getting her pet food from her natural health distributor, and it wasn't a food that I was interested in carrying. Now she comes in when she can't get her food and she buys from me. So, but we tried to partner up on a few things. Occasionally, obviously, if she had customers with issues, she would send them over to me. And I was always trying to recommend people, hey, before I knew what I knew about natural supplements and things like that, people were already going to her. So I didn't have enough room or confidence to say, you should go over there and try their products. Now I feel comfortable doing that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and at the beginning, you had a lot of other things going on too when you opened your store.
Yeah, I was pregnant. I was, let's see, what, 5 or 6 months pregnant? I mean, I was crazy.
Wow.
I was even in there painting. I was nuts. I was completely out of control. But it motivated me. I felt like I needed to do something. When you're big with child, you can't sleep. So I was up all night searching products. I knew every square inch of wholesalepet.com. I swear. It was fun. I mean, I felt like I self-taught on a lot of things, but I learned a lot about companies and I learned a lot about products just from being up all night.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I've been saying that we're very similar. I was the same way with wholesalepet.com. I mean, I really literally and thank God we had it, because you had your local distributor, but they didn't carry any of the smaller brands. Right. And they do such a good job of, they had all the pictures and you could order anytime. It was like the Amazon for, retail stores, but they had that community board, that message board. And I think they still have it, but being able to kind of hear what other retailers go through and what they're struggling with is really important, and kind of what's the successes that are working for them too. And that was a lot of great content was in there, and that's exactly why these kind of magazines and what we're doing now is really to just help the others see successes too, right?
Oh, definitely. And I had 2 great mentors in St. Louis, and I probably should give them a quick shout out. Amy and Megan Vasterling with Mud Puppies, which is no longer in business, but was up in O'Fallon. They were wonderful. When I couldn't make a minimum order or I didn't have a place for a truck to deliver, they would actually let me piggyback orders on their trucks. And then I would drive up to St. Louis and pick them up and pay them, of course. They were fantastic. And then Amy Pisano and Dawn Bell at Pets in the City. I mean, I bet I called them 4 times a day, asking them questions like, so why is rabbit good? Explain that to me again. So it's nice to have helpful people. I wasn't always used to that in other lines of work, but to have people that were there to help you succeed, especially women. I mean, we were all kind of looking out for each other, which I loved.
Yeah. And how did you approach that relationship, or how did that evolve? Because I have recently heard from somebody who they were like, how do you find those mentors? So
mine started because I was trying to sell them dog food. I mean, it started that easy, but again, they both knew the Cape Girardeau area. One of them attended Special Olympics things down here, and one of them had actually gone to college down here. So they knew about Cape already, and they knew that Cape was lacking in an independent supply store because the previous one had shuttered up when they retired. So they were both very, very keen on jumping right in and saying, you've got to do this. You've got to get this going. Yeah. And that was good motivation. I mean, they weren't going to make any money off of it. They weren't going to benefit from it. They just thought that it was time and I could be the one to do it.
Yeah. Do you think they just wanted to help more pet parents, and you were far enough away it wasn't competitive, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we were under no competition, and even today, like even with Pets in the City, if I have a customer that's moving to St. Louis, that's the first place I recommend. I want them to know they're going to get the same quality products and the same service. And they feel comfortable, because a lot of pet parents, it is scary for them to move and not know where their next food's going to be, or, where they can get those products and that customer service.
Right. So then let's see. So you had your store, and then a year later, business was booming and you decided to go into a bigger space.
Yes. We
almost double.
We like tripled our square footage, but we added in the self-service dog wash. That was the other thing that the girls both told me absolutely had to happen. Which is funny because Cape was not ready for a self-service dog wash.
You were a trendsetter. You were ahead of the times with your natural dog food and your self-washes.
But I went to high school with somebody else who owned a strip mall, and he was actually building a new strip mall on the side of town that I wanted to be on. It was a side of town that had more of a middle to upper middle class neighborhood. It was easier to get in and out of. We have a very bustling downtown district, but it's hard. Parking is difficult because I considered downtown, but I thought the idea of somebody having to haul a 40-pound bag of food to their car 3 blocks away is not appealing. It's not appealing to me. It's not appealing to all those women and anybody that comes in my store. So When I found out that strip mall was going to be built, I immediately contacted him, and he helped me kind of design my space. He understood what I wanted. He grew up with me, so he knew about the dogs in my background. So he had boarded at the kennel, so that helped too. So we put in the self-service dog wash about 2 months after we opened. Okay. But it's funny because I can look back at some of those pictures and see how empty we looked and see how full we look today. And I'm like, I can't believe I filled the place.
Well, but that's good. I think that's smart because, you know, in the beginning, I was over inventory. I had way too much inventory. I bought way too much of those little dog clothes. So, so that's good. I mean, I think it's smart that you started with what you thought they might need. And then obviously as things have improved and sales grew, you have more inventory now. All right. So then you didn't think retail was enough and you expanded into services and opened a doggy daycare.
Yes. The one thing I swore I'd never do, that and grooming. Right. I never do either one because it's not my forte. I want to be good at what I do. You know, I don't want to do a lot and not be good at a lot. I want to be good at a few things. But a lot of the idea of the doggy daycare came about, and we do have a couple other doggy daycares in town, and they've been open for quite some time, but they didn't do what customers wanted. And frankly, we had heard some things that were that made me pretty uneasy. You know, my parents have always had the boarding kennel and we've never had an issue. And, you know, it's not hard. It's not a hard job to take care of somebody else's dog. But when you start to hear these stories and these problems, and I had a dog trainer who was working for me. She'd come in every other Saturday and help people with issues. We kind of got to putting our heads together and brainstorming. And then once you get something on your mind and you can't get it out, and the next thing you know, I'm buying a former private school building, a 4,000 square foot private school building a mile down the road from my store. And it was crazy. I mean, we had a lot of problems with the building. Both air conditioners had to be replaced. All the ductwork had to be replaced. We had to add in play yards. Thank God I knew somebody in the AstroTurf industry because I wanted to go with turf instead of, you know, regular grass. I mean, it's nice to be in a small town because you know a lot of people and you get help a little bit, but the services are harder to come by too. But yeah.
How did you juggle all of that? I mean, you had your store and then dealing with a dog. I mean, I also did that myself. And when I opened in my doggy daycare, I mean, it took forever because I was working full time in my store. So how did you juggle and manage like keeping the store operating well and then still being able to project manage the daycare build out?
I cried a lot. No, I had a friend who helped me a lot in the beginning. In fact, she's now a groomer who rents space from me in the doggy daycare. She took over a lot of the initial build out. There were times when I thought I've made a huge mistake. What have I done? I've got keys to this building that was sitting for sale for over a year that nobody wants, and it's a behemoth. You know, I mean. It's a big property. It was a big property, yeah, and with the land and everything else. And it took a little bit of time, and it took me to just kind of chill out and realize I had a great group of people at my store who could run the store for me. Once we kind of got the motivation to get it done, then all of a sudden I was dealing with an idea that I didn't have anybody to run the place. And one of my girls that had been with me at the store, who actually had managed a pet store in New York years ago, said to me, "You need my help." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to lose you at the store." She goes, "But you need me at the daycare." And so I let her go over there, and I hired another manager. So I have 2 managers at the daycare, and they do an outstanding job for me. I mean, I'm over there at least twice a day. I drop my little dog off and pick her up, and I check in on everybody. And I was there helping with school pictures yesterday. And it's nice. It's nice to be able to not be stressed out about one business because I'm pretty much always stressed out about the other.
Okay. that is true. So what are some of your de-stressors? Like, how do you help create a work-life balance?
Gosh, it's hard. I think I'm common of any woman who works, where I don't ever feel like I spend enough time with my family. Now that my son's a little older, he's so much more fun to go do stuff with than when he was a little baby. Not that I didn't love him as a baby, but you walks and he talks and he has opinions and he likes to do stuff and he's active. And we go to a lot of kids' birthday parties. It's that time of the year. We love to go to movies. I don't even mind that they're kid movies. I just get to spend some time with him and my husband. And we have a little pool. We try and go swimming when we can, although that's pretty much over for the season. We try and take a good vacation. We actually use Global as a great vacation. We go down there. They have great daycare. So he's used to going into daycare, and we go shop, and then we all go.
Wait a second. I don't have children, so I did not know this. So Global Pet Expo offers daycare for the kids that come?
It is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It's a company called Kitty Core, and you sign up on Global's website. It's wonderful. The ladies are wonderful. They don't feed the kids, so you do have to pull them out for meals. In our case, we take him to we just do mornings. So we whip their Global pretty quick, but yeah, he's used to it. He can take his iPad. They have a Wii.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's super. It's the best thing.
Cool.
You know, we didn't want to leave him for a week when we go down there. Plus, we're going to Florida. You know, sometimes you want to take your kid places.
Right, right. So now that, you know, it's interesting when I hear your story, I feel like, you know, you are, one of the things you said is you're like, I must be nuts. Like you must have, when we were chatting earlier, you were like, I think it's just because I'm nuts. Because you're like, I was nuts. I must have done this. I must have done that. And when I hear you talk, you know, you speak so confidently about like, oh, I saw this opportunity and I was going to jump in and there was this building and I did this or I did that. A lot of people though live in a place of fear and are nervous to go there. Would you say that you just have no fear and you're ready to jump in, or what's your thought process as you see these opportunities?
I'm sure there was fear. Luckily, I don't remember much of it. Again, I was pregnant for part of that, so that might have saved my life. You know, we've been so well received in Cape that I think that's given me a lot of confidence. I would probably say in the beginning that I was scared, but I didn't have a focus in the beginning. Now that I'm focused on nutrition and helping people's pets live better lives, that's given me a lot of confidence and motivation. In the beginning, it was just I was selling cute pet stuff. So there wasn't a lot. I mean, I wasn't like disgruntled or anything like that. In fact, it amazed me when I made my first $200. It amazed me when I made my first $500. My husband and I laugh about that. The day we hit $1,000 in gross receipts, I was just shocked, you know. And now it's much more than that, and that's phenomenal. And people put their trust in us. So that's what gives me the confidence, and that's what makes me feel good about what we're doing. And it probably drives me a lot.
Yeah. You're driven by the fact that you are providing, you're educating your customers. Yeah. Is that correct? And yeah. And so one of the key moments I think that, you know, you've had is that teaching piece. And walk me through, I guess like your feelings around how you help your customers.
Well, you know, I look at it this way. The customers that come in for food obviously have been in a place where they're upset. They've exhausted other opportunities. And that's not a poor judgment against veterinarians, but people, it's easy to get caught in a cycle, whether it be antibiotics and steroids or, you know, whatever. And people kind of get tired of that. And with this whole kind of natural revolution that's coming along, people are now starting to see that in the pet industry, like with their pets, I should say. So people are coming to me because they've exhausted all other resources. They're tired. They're tired of spending money, even it's just that simple. And what I think is important is giving those people the tools and making them understand that this will help, but you have to do it. It's not as easy as popping a pill, and then that's a Band-Aid for a couple months. You know, you've got it. This is a lifestyle change for you, for your pet. And I think that what I've noticed is I've had a lot of people come in who, number one, say, oh, well, I already eat healthy. I didn't think about my animals. And number two, it's if they are feeding their animals healthier food, then it's made them look at their own diets. It's made me look at mine. I mean, I changed my diet a lot after I learned about what food can do. And that sounds so simplistic, but we don't realize what we're putting in our bodies, and we don't think about what we're putting in our pets' bodies. And it does make a difference.
It does. It does. And I think when you come from that place of service, of wanting to help educate your clients and help them improve the life or the longevity of and the health of their pet, it doesn't seem so much like you're selling. That's true.
That's true. And I'm quick to tell them, you can probably find coconut oil cheaper somewhere else, but I promise you, I have the best.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, at Cape Girardeau, Missouri is where you're at, right? Did I say that right?
Yep.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri is where you're at. Now, that's a town, you said, of about 40,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're in a small town like that, if you're one of the few natural places, I think you probably face a couple challenges. And the first would be about how to get over not even the stigma, I guess, or like the dog food, that the natural is good. I think a lot of times in smaller towns right here too, is that people don't, this probably happens in big towns too, but that the consumer doesn't feel like they need to be feeding their dog this really expensive, all natural food. So how have you been able to one, is that a problem for you? Did you feel in the beginning? And then
it was in the beginning. Yeah, it totally was in the beginning. I remember when I first brought in Primal, they do the whole freezer buy-in program. I pretty much had to throw away all of it. I mean, I barely sold any raw. And that was frustrating, but I also understood that you could not change everybody's mind. I mean, we're heavy Purina country down here. We're heavy science diet country down here. There's a lot of vets in this town. For this tiny little town, we have a lot of veterinarians. And so it's getting people to try the food. It's getting people to understand the benefits, and it's seeing the results. And that's where we started to build a customer base. And again, the customer service and the education and all those things kind of combined with it. But it was just getting people to try food. There were a lot of bags of food that I donated because they were expired. I mean, you have to get past that.
Yeah. So what was your process like to become more confident in talking about nutrition?
Learning more about it. And again, my friends up in St. Louis were instrumental in helping me getting online. I mean, and beware of online because not everything is accurate and true. I'm a huge Dr. Becker disciple. I think she's really cool. I think everything she does is phenomenal. Taking the class, finding an actual class that I felt comfortable with, that gave me the tools. It's all at home learning. They send you a list of books and they send you questions. And when you answer those questions, you send them back and they grade it and you get another group of questions. And it was just understanding how food is. For me, just learning how to read an ingredient panel. I mean, so many people are focused on the crude protein, the crude fat, the moisture, and that's not what it is. The blinders are on and they're facing in. And if you can get people to understand that there's way more to food than just those 4 percentages, it makes a big difference. And again, I hope that transfers into what they're eating at home, that they're starting to look and seeing that, the chicken isn't really just chicken. So,
right, exactly. It's education.
Yeah.
And then, also in small towns, I feel like there's always a Walmart and there's always, you've already mentioned that, Walmart and Petco. And so you're competing for discounted stuff, the discounted merchandise in the big boxes. So how did you separate yourself from them?
Well, first off, I don't really carry anything. I don't carry anything that Walmart has. No offense to Walmart, but that's just not my set. And I hardly I carry very few items that our local Petco carries. It's not a huge Petco. Actually, a million years ago, I merchandised out there, so I kind of had some knowledge of what was out there. Mm-hmm. And I chose foods that, number one, were in favor of independent businesses. I chose foods that had never had any pet food recalls, and I still stand by that. And I chose foods that were just good based on what I had already learned by then. And so that ruled out a lot of what is in big box anyway. There is still a little bit of overlap. I actually do special order some foods that Petco carries. I mean, but I can offer a frequent buyer program and Petco doesn't. There's bonuses to that. There's things that I can offer to people. And I even have people who come in and say that Petco referred them to us. So I don't have any ill will against my big box competitors. Yeah. To me, it's just different. And again, when you're offering customer service and knowledge and they're offering a checkout line, I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Right. And then, but with the consumer though, you have to still make the experience amazing and positive. And that's one of the things I feel like you write a lot about. A lot of your articles are promotions you can do and ways to wow your customer. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to dig into some of your best ideas. Let's start with one that you that you do consistently and on a regular basis.
Well, if you're talking about the store cat.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, the latest article actually, it happens to have a cat on the cover, but inside of her, she's getting all these advices. And I was like, this store cat, Howie, gets a lot of credits.
He's a hunk, by the way. He's not here because I'm at home, but I do have a picture of him.
Let's see him.
There he is.
Oh, he is. Look at him. He's super cool.
He is an awesome cat. He really is. He came to me on a fluke. I really didn't have any intention of having a store cat. I kind of ended up with him because I said I'd find him a home. And supposedly he was a kitten, but he was an 11-month-old kitten. But his personality is so unique. I've been around cats all my life too, and most cats are just anti-dog. This cat walks up to dogs in my store. He'll walk up to complete strangers like, hey man, what's going on? You know, he really has no fear. And except for his love of tearing open cat litter bags, he really left the food alone. So he had a lot of pluses. And the big thing is people come in and say, I don't like cats, but I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, he's become your store mascot.
Yeah, we started using him for quite a few promotions. The biggest one that we use him for is his birthday club. It's called Howie's Birthday Club. And we have everybody sign up their dog or cat on a form. Right now they're just on postcards. We're kind of working on doing some online stuff, and our index cards. And on the month of their dog's or cat's birthday, they actually get a postcard in the mail.
Oh, that's cute.
And I had a friend draw him.
Picture of him.
One of my friends drew a caricature of him, and I just fell in love with it. Those green eyes are just popping. But yeah, at the beginning of each month, we just sit down and write out postcards, and we mail those off to people. Actually, we mail them to the pet, and they can bring the postcard in, and they get a free cookie. And if they bring the dog or cat in, we take their picture in a birthday hat, and we post it on social media. So you can look all over our Instagram page and see dogs and cats having to wear hats, and it's truly embarrassing for them. But it's really cute. It's a fun thing. And the other big thing we did with Howie, wait. I want to talk about this a little more. Yeah.
So what I love about it is a little bit of manual labor there to write all those out. It is. But then, and I think I've heard a lot where people do just, you get a discount, you get a free gift. I mean, I'm guilty of that in my old business. We would just hand them a really nice solo bag with some cookies and stuff in it. Right. But I never thought to take a picture of them and use it on social media, because then they're going to share it and tag it. So that's really smart. I'm curious though, how many of those actually get redeemed? Like what percentage would you say come in? Versus even, I guess, how many bounce back? Do you get a lot of that because you don't have the current mailing address for them? Or?
We get, I probably send out between 20 and 25 a month. And this year, I've probably gotten 1 or 2 back every month. If it's a college student, because we do have a college in town, maybe they've moved, somebody's changed addresses. It might have been an error on my part. So we get those sent back out if we can. I would say at least 1/3 of those get redeemed.
That's great. It's inexpensive. Yeah, it brings them in, and you didn't have to pay anything, and it was a really feel good, warm, fuzzy, and and it's a way for you also to make sure your mailing list is still current. I think it's
exactly. And if they buy something extra, that's even better. That means they come back in the store, and that, for me, that's the whole point. But and I can spend 90 cents on a dog cookie and put it in a cello bag and put a little ribbon on it, and maybe it ended up being like $1.10 a cookie. I can afford to waste that, plus the stamp, plus the postcards. Remember all that stuff, but it does make for goodwill.
Right, exactly. It's about an experience. Yeah, they love it. Okay, so what was your amazing next promotion?
Well, we actually did 2 other things with Howie. We started a food bank. There is no local pet food bank. There is a human food bank called SEMO Food Bank, and they're run Feeding America. which is a national program. And I contacted them because they actually had no way of getting pet food. Up until recently, I do know that PetSmart has partnered with them, and that's awesome. So we kind of got together, we put our heads together with the girl that was working there at the time, and we take food and label it, we bag it, label it, and they were actually passing it out at what they called their mobiles, which is where they actually go to some of these towns and just set up, and anybody can come and get food. Nice. It is wonderful. We did one in our parking lot. I mean, you would not believe the warm fuzzies that you get off of it. You know, they don't have to submit their income level or anything at these mobiles. They literally just come in. The SEMO Food Bank people hand them a box. They load up on fresh fruits, vegetables, cereal. And then if they have pets, they, you know, we had boxes and boxes of dog and cat food, and we just handed it right out to them. And it's an amazing feeling. It really is. And we partner with the food bank a lot. We call it Howie's Harvest. That's why we needed a catchy nickname for it, just to get people drawn in. And we use them at we do an Easter egg hunt, and that benefits the food bank every year. And then they come to my Pet Fest event in October and set up, and they accept donations there too. So
yeah,
it's
wonderful way.
a good program. Yeah. And then the last thing we did, which I don't have with me, we did wooden nickels, and we put Howie's picture on them. So
I think we talked about that in the magazine, about the wooden nickels. I don't think I realized.
Yeah, it was just a cute idea, and we just give them out. We don't necessarily. We did put them in the Easter eggs, and people would read them, but sometimes we just hand them to people. Here, have a wooden nickel. It's $5. You can redeem it later on in the store.
So the wooden nickel is not. It's actually it's like a coupon voucher, right? For a $5 value. That's great.
Yeah. It's a lot easier than printing off coupons all the time. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if any of you guys have any questions, you're welcome to type them in the chat, and Christina will pull them aside for us. We're going to dig in now to her. She has a great holiday promotion that she does. And it's called, what is it called? I don't want to give it away. Tell us all about your holiday.
It's nothing fancy. It's called the 12 Days of Christmas. Originally, when I did 12 Days of Christmas, I actually didn't announce them in advance. And I found that we weren't getting the turnaround that I wanted. So we actually we do this 12 days before Christmas. I don't do it. I actually end it usually like the weekend before Christmas, just to give us a little bit of catch up time before the actual big day. And we started, obviously 12 days back, and I post the list, and then the night before on social media, then I put up the picture of what's going to be on sale, or what you can come in and get for free, or, whatever the promotion is. And it's been a few years. The first couple years I was like, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea, but it just takes some time. And social media is fickle. Before Instagram came along, and Instagram has become a little more fickle too, but Facebook got to a point where you couldn't always see. Not everybody got your posts, basically. And people aren't good at going back to your page. So I had to be creative, and that's why I went ahead and posted the list in advance, and it made all the difference.
Yeah. When we did this, it was like we didn't post it in advance. We'd announce on the day of, and I felt like, other than the bully stick promotion, it's like people didn't really care,
right.
and or if it was food. And so I think that, planning, people are busy, and if they know in advance what days it is, then they're going to come in. And that the whole point is to get them to come in so that they buy all the other stuff, exactly. that they need. So that's really smart.
Exactly.
What were some other key things that help make that a success, you think?
Probably our biggest day is when we put all of our Molly Mutt dog duvets on sale, because I don't put them on sale any other time of the year.
Nice. You're an exclusive deal. It's exciting.
Exclusive deal. Yeah. And we actually partnered with a local mattress company, Campbell Mattress, and they make mattresses to fit inside the duvets.
Wow.
So you have the option of doing the eco-friendly, or you can get I would say almost, human grade mattress made by a human company. And people, even if they've just bought a cover, just bought a mattress, very often they come back in to get that percentage off just to have it there. So that's probably our biggest day. And something else I do, the very last day, I put all the Christmas toys on sale, because I don't want to keep Christmas toys. I know. We'll buy them at discount at the end of the year anyway. But we put them 15, 20% off, and it gives those last minute people a little bit of a boost. And we move a lot of toys out there towards the end, because I found over the years, people shop for family members first and their pets last. So we see a bigger rush of people coming into the store at the end.
Same in my business too. Like the last week and a half before Christmas, it was insanity. Yeah,
it's good. I love fourth quarter.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we do have a couple questions. Okay, so there are two questions. The first one relates to your first retail store, and it's from Karen, and she wants to know what were some determining factors in making the move to that larger space. You know, because she might be in that position where she's thinking, okay, yeah, maybe we need a bigger space. So, why?
Well, for us, space. I mean, we had 750 square feet, and that included the back room and the bathroom. And I was to the point where I am again now. We were practically hanging stuff from the ceiling. It was a good starter location. It wasn't necessarily a great location in terms of the surrounding businesses within my own strip mall. In fact, there were at least 2 title and loan places. My landlords were fine. They never gave me any issue or anything like that. But when I had the opportunity to go somewhere, especially that was being built and being built to the way I wanted it, by somebody I knew, which was lucky for me, I took advantage of it quickly. Plus, I was going to the side of town that I wanted to go to. I was in the middle of town for the original location, which was good, but I needed to be more on that northern end where I knew there weren't a lot of shops, but that's where people would want to shop for food because that's where they all live.
But why then, when you very first opened and you were in your first location, did you not go to that other place? Were there not any spaces available, or you didn't know that that's where you were?
It wasn't even built yet. It was a gravel parking lot.
No, not this one, but I mean, like, were there no spots at the time, and that's why you picked where you did, or you didn't know?
I just didn't know. I didn't know. I was kind of going off familiarity and going with, and again, I liked the idea of being close to that natural health food store too. Because trust me, this is not an area where a lot of people do natural health. this is pizza and barbecue down here. So yeah, I felt like that was a good hook, and it was cheap to get in. I mean, my rent was $600 a month for a 750 square foot space.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
That is pretty amazing. Yeah. I think I paid $4,000. Yeah, for a little bit bigger, but it is Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you wanted to be in a better location. You already were outgrowing your space, and so that was some good deciding factors to move. When you did move, did your customers follow, or did you lose some customers?
You know, I think everybody followed, which is fantastic. I mean, still to this day, I have customers who have been coming in since I was over in the middle of town, and we laugh about it. We joke about it all the time. They go, "Do you remember that little spot you were in?" Yeah, I do. I remember every bit of it. I think it's wonderful that we have people who have been coming to us for 7 years now. You know, I mean, that to me is amazing that they've trusted me and my judgment on products and my guidance for 7 years. You know, I mean, that makes you feel good too.
Yeah, some of them you might even be on their second pets, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you so much for answering that for Karen. Right, so we also have a question from, this one is from Lorena, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. She wants to talk about daycare and keeping track of all the dogs and rotating them to be inside and outside. So tell us about your process around that.
Sure. When I bought the building, again, like I said, it was a school. It actually housed a preschool in one end and just a regular grade school, middle school in the other. And it had like 2 classrooms, and then it had a huge open area. It's got a full kitchen. And then as you move further down the way, it had at least 2 other classrooms. And of course it had a boys' bathroom and a girls' bathroom, and, you know, just funny. It was funny. We ripped out one of the bathrooms and turned that into a bathing area. And then the one end of the building I did rent out to a groomer. So she's got right around 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
We took those 2 existing classrooms and we made Dutch doors, actually a little higher than Dutch doors. We kind of cut the door off and put a shelf on, and that way the dogs can't jump over. So there's 2 classrooms, and then we split up that open area into 2 more classrooms with 4-foot-high walls. And the building is long and skinny, so it had a front door and a back door, which the front door was never used. So we actually blocked that off with walls and a gate. Everything is gated. I mean, I am so paranoid about a dog getting out. So everything is double gated, literally everything. But in terms, and of course we have the outside play yard. We have 2 outside play yards and also like a holding pen between the 2. We have.
Do you have?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to ask, I think, for tracking, like, do you have a software that you use to check them in and out?
Not yet. They really want one, but I'm not quite there yet. I need a few more dogs to pay for that software. We've actually looked at a couple different options, and we are going to go with a software that will give us a little more real time in terms of when dogs need to be updated on their shots. And
yeah, there's some really good ones out there. I mean,
there are. There are. Well, and we keep our ratios fairly low. We're averaging about 36 dogs a day right now. Okay. We can take up to 50. That's kind of where I wanted to top out, unless we somehow miraculously made more room. And we keep the ratios. We call them campers, and then the people that work for me are counselors. We kind of went with the whole camp theme. So I keep our camper ratios about 10 to 1. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, depending on the energy level of the dogs. My managers are incredible. We put up like dry erase boards on the front of our cabinets in the office, which was a great office, by the way. The principal had a fantastic office in there. And they have color coded all the dogs by energy level and size. And I don't even know their code. I can't keep track of it. I just trust, I know they're doing it right. And so you can just look on the board at any given time and you'll see that, oh, hi, kitty. There's one kitty. That's Gracie.
See, somebody had to come and get some attention.
So yeah, I mean, they have a wonderful working system. So if we have dogs outside, we have dogs inside, and then we let those come in and another group goes out. If you've ever worked at a swimming pool, it's just like rotating. I mean, they rotate in, they rotate out. And they really do well with it. They really do. The dogs are great. They love the routine. And when they're outside in the play yards, they play ball with them. And we have one of those tether tugs. And we try and make it as interactive as possible. And when they're inside, there's rest. And then they also work on like trying to not DoorDash like my little dog likes to do. Or, you know, things that can be taken home, hopefully, and utilized by the pet parents.
Right. That's great. So yeah, you're not like calling over the intercoms like, you know, it's time for first period. Everybody move. Shift rooms. Everyone come in from outside. No,
that'd be really cute.
I can only imagine. Yeah, too bad we didn't get your pictures up to show like what it looks like as a school.
Oh yeah, it turned out really neat. It really did. I was like I said, I had moments of like, oh my God, what have I done? But I'm really happy.
That's awesome. Okay, so Bob, he wants to know how your retail strategy changed to compete with online price-focused sellers.
Yes, online. Oh, it's so. I will tell you, in the beginning, I'm not as worried about Chewy as I used to be because several of the dog food companies that I carry no longer sell on Chewy. So that made me feel better. And in the beginning, one of the companies that was very active on Chewy, I had a customer come in and say, well, I buy on Chewy. What can you do for me? And I'm like, oh. Well, number one,
yeah, you're like never come back.
Yeah, I ruffled your feathers really bad. But
it does.
I mean, I'm sure you've been there too. But I called my manufacturer rep and I told him what was going on. And he said, I tell you what, you go ahead and you give them the price that Chewy is offering, and I will send you a free bag of food every 3 or 4 months. And so that took the sting out of it. That helped a lot. And again, now that most of my companies have pulled out, it's not that big of a deal. I think the only thing I use Chewy for is making sure my prices are on track.
Yeah. Well, I think to the point too, like, yeah, you want to have unique things you can't find on the internet everywhere. That's you really want to curate your products. And I found in working with a lot of retailers in my consulting business that sometimes a lot of retailers can get just complacent and they just order from their distributors. And then they do all have kind of the same stuff. And a lot of times the distributors only want to bring in stuff that is well-known and is going to sell. And so if you want to be unique and different, you're going to have to find other interesting places and to source those products. Now, even with, competing with price on the internet, we always say this, that like the retailer should still come in and provide an experience for that customer. And so you offer so many amazing experiences and great customer service that's why people would want to continue shopping with you and supporting you.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, there's always going to be the people there's always going to be people who will look right on the phone and say they can get it cheaper. But the majority of people
in the store.
In the store.
Of your product.
Which is a whole other webinar.
That's true.
On how to combat that. No, I'm kidding. We'd be happy to talk about it if anybody wants to. But yeah, it really comes down to just being confident in what you sell and how you're going to help these people. And then I think also communicating that through a lot of different ways, whether it's through your marketing or even like how you do your signs in your store, that you participate in your community, and that when your community shops with you, they participate in keeping you open so that you can continue to do that food drive that you do. And as a retailer, it's important that you're sharing those messages for the local community to understand how important their dollars are and the impact that their dollars can make.
Definitely. I mean, it's hard too, because people forget that this is our income. If I go out of business, I've got no income. I mean, it's hard because people are so tuned in and so used to shopping big box, and they're like, oh yeah, they're fine, whatever. We're not. I mean, the amount of employment taxes I pay, thanks to the state of Missouri, every quarter is staggering. And it's frustrating some days. That's not to say I wouldn't keep doing it. Don't get me wrong. But I know a lot of people don't understand what we go through as a business owner. And I mean, I've been accused of being in it to make money. Well, yeah, but I mean, that is kind of why I'm crazy like this. I mean, otherwise I could go get me a better job doing something else. But but I love what I do, and I love pets, and I love pet people, as quirky as they are, and it does keep me going despite all those things.
Yeah. Well, we're almost to the end, so I just have enjoyed having you on with us. But I do want to thank you. I want to tap your brain one last time. Like, if there was one thing that you feel like you should make sure every business owner knows or does in their own business, what's the Stacyism you want to share with us?
Enjoy what you do. I know a lot of people who have been in the industry who have come back later on in other roles and have said, boy, I would never go back to being a retail owner. I would never go back to doing this. I would never go back to doing that. Enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, look for something else that will satisfy you and motivate you. I mean, I don't feel like I'm done yet. There's more out there for us, whether it be with the retail store or with the doggy daycare or with whatever we're doing. But, roll with it and have fun with it. I mean, I come home tired, and I come home and I still do work, but I still wake up thankful that I don't work for anybody else.
Right. Yes. You're your own petpreneur.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Stacy. And thank you for everybody who's joined us on our Pets Plus Beyond the Pages episode. We're going to be back in a couple weeks with some more amazing experts for you. And if you want to check out Stacy's business, her store is called Busch Pet Products, right? Your retail store is. And Deer Creek Doggy Daycare. And thank you so much. Well, Anne, you're probably writing. Are you writing for the next issue?
Yeah, well, I haven't. I don't know what I'm writing yet, but I sure will.
Right? Yeah. Ralph is watching. He's probably like,
give me some coming up. Better send me an email.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Stacy. I really enjoyed talking with you, and
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.